We're calling the Board of Supervisors to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Supervisor Giomi.
Here.
Supervisor White.
Here.
Supervisor Jones. Supervisor Shooty.
Here.
Mayor Bagwell.
Here.
A quorum's present.
Thank you so much. Oh, there you are. Our invocation this morning will be by Pastor Bruce Henderson. Thank you.
Our Father, we thank you for a beautiful day. It's an early winter, but we thank you so much for the moisture. What a day we have scheduled this day, Father. We're honoring people for their terms of service. We have all kinds of departments represented today to make possible decisions. We pray for our Board of Supervisors, Lord, as they represent our city, that you will give them wisdom and concentration as they make decisions for the best of our people. We thank you. We praise you. We ask for your help and strength in our daily needs. We pray in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Miss Hicks, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Oh, that'll that. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're now on to agenda item number 5, which is our beginning public comment. I didn't see anyone signed up, but in case I have some, come on up. Ms. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mayor. Hope Sullivan, Community Development Director. I'm excited to introduce to the board our interim building official, Thomas Marshall. He's with Charles Abbott and Associates. As the board knows, that since 2014, Charles Abbott Associates has been running our building department and providing in-house as well as out-of-house staff. So we have people who actually work in the offices in Carson City, and then they have a back-of-house office where they can send plans out and things like that. Thomas also has, in addition to having a lot of experience, he has experience with InterGov, which, as you all know, is our software system. So we're really excited, one, for Thomas to just look at our systems, look at our processes, identify opportunities for improvement and help implement those opportunities, as well as to look at InterGov, look at the interface of the portal, use his experience from elsewhere and help us navigate how to make improvements to that system as well. With that, I'll turn it over to Thomas and he can introduce himself and tell you a little more about his experience.
Good morning.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thomas Marshall, graduated from Valley High School in 1982 in Las Vegas, then moved to Georgia for 33 years.
That was a difference.
And then finally came back in 2019. So I'm happy to be back in the state, happy to serve this community. Want you to know that I'm focused on communication with those people who use this city service. So whether it be through interface with a portal or interface through direct handouts or just simply picking up the phone, those people who need our service, we're here to make sure that they get the service that they need and they have a positive experience. I have an open door policy. So if you need to talk to me about anything that you have a concern about in any of your districts or anything that you think might be related to the building safety community, please come find me.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
We look forward to working with you. Thank you. Do I have any other public comment? Okay, I'm going to move on to agenda item number 6, which is possible action for the approval of our minutes of October 20th, 2022. Do I have any corrections or issues? If not, I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve the Carson City Board of Supervisors meeting minutes of 20 October 2022 as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. We're now on to agenda item number 7A, which is our presentation of our length of service certificates. Would you guys join me on the floor, please? So the first one we're going to do is Melanie Brantingham, our supervising deputy district attorney. Come on. You're going to read that.
We are thrilled to recognize Supervising Deputy District Attorney Melanie Brantingham for 15 years of service, all as a prosecutor in the District Attorney's Office. Melanie is as tough as nails and was born to be a prosecutor. She's a walking encyclopedia of legal knowledge, able to recite obscure statutes from and cases from memory. Yeah, so what's 127.2? Okay, well, darn it. Shows you what I know. Drawing upon her vast experience in thousands of cases, including 30 jury trials, Melanie mentors and trains less experienced attorneys, supporting their development into strong advocates for the people of Carson City. And if you ever want to see someone getting a glimpse into hell, come watch a defendant trying to withstand her cross-examination. Melanie's years of hard work have helped secure justice for countless victims and kept our community safe, and we're deeply grateful for your service. Thank you, Melanie. Sounds like the intro for a Netflix show, so.
Okay, we got Rick Cooley. You know, you're slacking only 10 years.
Tell me about it. What happens when you spend 25 in the private sector?
Thank you so much. Stan?
Rick Cooley, Operation Manager. Rick is such a valuable asset to Carson City. Rick manages the operation and landfill divisions of public work. Rick faces challenges head-on and rises to the occasion, even when the call to action doesn't fall within his core of duties. The city continually leans on Rick during emergency events, and he always responds with a ready and willing attitude. We are fortunate to have Rick working for the city.
And Michael Schaefer. I cannot believe it. So since you have the least amount, you know, with the candid answer, 25 more. It's not working. I'm trying hard. Thank you so much.
I think Mike has a little prior before Carson City.
Still sounded right.
Yes.
We need the service.
In a short amount of time, Mike has worked his way through the ranks at Fleet. He started as a technician and was quickly promoted to foreman and then supervisor. His experience and understanding of all levels of fleet services is a huge asset to the city. Mike is a dependable and steady supervisor who brings a calming presence to the sometimes chaotic and unpredictable work environment at Fleet. Thank you for all you do for Carson City, Mike. And on a personal note, Mike and I worked together at Douglas County School District. He came to work at the very entry-level, first position you could get. Mike and I worked together many evenings, and this idea that Mike brings a calming presence to the sometimes chaotic, unpredictable work environment is absolutely true. I mean, Mike was there at Douglas County School District when I made my exit, and it was not calm. So thank you, Mike, and yet another 15?
Probably somewhere in there.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Now, if there's family and coworkers that would like to show their support of this great work, come on up, because we love pictures, and the more the merrier. So come on up if you're part of their teammates. right? Because that's what Carson City is. It's a great team. So come on up and have a picture with us.
Oh, it's charging. I did the same thing. You plug underneath? That's very strange. Okay. Thank you. You're an IT person now.
Yeah, I like it.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to point out that Chapter 127 is for adoption.
Oh.
Well, wait a minute. Did you actually know that, or did you have to look it up?
He looked it up.
Fortunately, I had to look it up.
Yeah, he's like, I looked that up. That was pretty good. Well, we have a new chapter for her to learn. Be sure and let her know. Okay, we're now going to move on to our consent agenda. Did any member or anybody from the public want anything on consent discussed? No? Okay, I'll take a motion on the consent agenda. Oh. You want something on the consent agenda pulled for discussion? What item? $10A? I got it. Okay. I'll accept a motion for everything except for 10A.
Thank you.
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of item 8A, 9A, 11A, 12AB, 13A, 13B, 13C, 13D, and 14A as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any noes? Let the record reflect the motion was unanimous. Thank you. We'll now move to the item pulled from consent at request of the public, item 10A, which is for possible action from an application for Manhard for an extension of time for 2 years. Ms. Sullivan? Just brief, and we'll see what.
This is a tentative map that the board approved, I think it was December 2018. A tentative map is good for 4 years per NRS unless there's mutual agreement to extend the time frame. The applicant is currently working through NDOT to get approval to connect on Highway 50. That permitting, so to speak, is taking longer than anticipated. And so the applicant has requested an additional 2 years on the tentative map. The staff is recommending approval of this because the conditions that were in place in 2018 when this was approved are still primarily the conditions that are in place today.
Thank you. Any questions for Hope? Denny, did you have a question on 10A that you wanted? Mhm.
I'm giving you a little time to think because you'll prepare for how I present this. My concern is well, I'm obviously a little more nervous than I thought I would be this morning. Thank you very much. We've got time here. I hope to get to it.
It's on.
Thank you. 35, and it relates to Community Development Department deed restrictions and recordation at the time of the first map. Will this stay in place? And it relates to an advisory to purchasers in the area that suggests that due to the location, It's next to landfill, rifle and pistol range, disc golf course, VT Railroad. This disclosure is made at the request of the Carson City Board of Supervisors with the intention of protecting the industrial properties, the city landfills and roughs and such. But I'm sorry, I'm going to run on because of time. The use may be affect your quality of life and may cause innocence or discomfort or
Inconvenience.
inconvenience, thank you very much, or discomfort. And it includes not limited to noise, vibrations, fumes, odors, dust, glare, and physical activity.
That will remain. All conditions remain. The only thing we're
Okay.
doing is extending the date, the timeline. That's all.
Okay. And then another question as far as the fire review. That fire review will be ongoing, so every deal as far as their abilities for exits and safety and such will be continuance on 38.
Yeah, there's no
That's-
changes.
Okay, and developers shall provide a management plan for review and approval by the fire department. Again, would that happen in the extended? Okay. And
Everything
that's kind-
stays. We're not changing any
Well,
conditions.
I've got to tell you that everything seems a little fluent to me, and so I want to sort of confirm verbally between us. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
Any further public comment? Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the extension of time.
I second. I have a motion and a second for the extension of time. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Denny. We'll now move on to agenda item 16A, which is discussion and possible action whether to order and direct the Carson City Treasurer to sell after giving notice of sale for properties that are delinquent. We do this every year, but if you have any comment, you may.
Good morning, Andrew Razor, Carson City Treasurer's Office. As explained in the staff report, this is the tax deed sale for those properties which have been more than 2 years delinquent on paying property taxes, real property taxes to the city of Carson City. And so we've already issued the notices to the property owners to pay the required taxes. And at this point now, we're following with Nevada law as to move forward and to collect the property taxes. And essentially what it is, it's the amount that is owed. It's not trying to get more money for the property. It's to get what is owed specifically to Carson City as far as the required taxes, penalties, and interest.
Thank you. Any questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion, please. Supervisor Giomi?
I move to direct Carson City Treasurer to sell each property described on the record in accordance with NRS 361.595.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. We're now on to agenda item 17A. This is a second reading. Possible action regarding the request from Sarah Martin for revising the definition of hotel. Ms. Sullivan, has there been any changes from the first reading?
No.
No changes. Are there any questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion, please.
I move to adopt on second reading bill number 121, ordinance, what's the ordinance number? 20? 2022. Yeah, 2022.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried unanimously, and I must say how excited I am for Miss Martin. What a beautiful job you've done, and I think it's going to be a wonderful asset for Carson City. If people haven't had a chance to go by, maybe she'll have a ribbon cutting or an open house and let everyone come and see what beautiful work she's done there. So thank you. Thank you. All right, we're now on to agenda item 17B. And this is discussion and possible action regarding a request from Carson City Holdings to adopt on second reading, adding a brewery with a tasting room. Ms. Sullivan, are there any changes from the first reading?
No.
No comments? Is there any questions from anybody here? Is there any public
Yes.
comment? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Now,
Supervisor
once
White?
again, as with the last time this came before us, I just feel like zoning changes need to happen at the time we do a master plan review, not one at a time in a hodgepodge nature that it's being done.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion? Supervisor Shute.
I move to approve on second reading Bill number 119, ordinance number 2022-20.
What bill number? 122. She said 119.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong?
Yep. 2022-23.
My apologies, sorry.
That's
I was-
okay. I'm like, wait, that's a half of half. Go ahead, try again.
I move to adopt on Lisa Schute's second reading as well as second reading of this Bill number 122, ordinance number 2022-23.
Perfect. Is there a second? I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no.
No.
Let the record reflect it was a 4-1, Supervisor White voting no.
Did you second
On to
Supervisor
agenda
Giommi?
item 17C.
Did you second?
Which is discussion and possible action regarding providing the transfer of our 2023 private activity bond volume to the Director of the State of Nevada for BNI for construction of Phase 2 of our Sierra Flats project. Ms. Sullivan?
Thank you, Mayor. NRS Chapter 348A and NAC, Nevada Administrative Code 348A, allow Carson City to annually allocate its share of the state money that's set aside for tax-exempt loans to fund industrial development or affordable housing projects. This project has requested that Carson City request that the Director of the Department of Business and Industry allocate the Carson City's portion of the money to the Sierra Flats Apartments Phase 2 project, which is an 80-unit affordable housing project. You'll recall that's over on Bud-Eye Way where the city had initially owned that property, I believe still owns that property. So what's before you today is a resolution to transfer Carson City's portion of the 2023 private activity bond volume cap to the Director of the Department of Business and Industry for the construction of Sierra Flats Apartments Phase 2. Eric Novak with Praxis Consulting Group is present if you want more information. And I'll stop there, Mayor.
Does any member of the board have a question? Is there any public comment on this item? Denny?
Thank you very much. I would like some clarification on the amount of time that development will be available at, for low income. It was a required, I think, 40 years, or how long was that? It was required that they maintain.
Denny, this agenda item is on a private activity bond. I am sure that Mr. Novak would be more than happy to visit with you
Thank you.
about the project of Sierra
Right.
Flats. Please, if you would help him, I would be most appreciative of
Thank you
that.
very much.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other public comment? Supervisor Giommi, a motion?
I move to adopt resolution number 2022-R31.
A motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no.
No.
I have one no. Okay. Thank you. And again, Eric, thanks so much. If you'll speak with him, that would be helpful. Okay. Now on agenda item 18A, which is discussion and presentation by the Carson City Public Works Department regarding our snowplow operations during storm events. Mr. Cooley.
Good morning, Board.
morning.
For the record, Rick Cooley, Operations Manager, Public Works. Let me get plugged in here and we'll get going. Let's see, what do I need to do to pop up here?
Did he hit the,
Does IT change it? Or do I gotta push a button? Wrong button?
Careful what button you push.
yeah,
But
it's gonna
especially
get
me.
worse.
It could be the launch pad.
Did you hit the round?
Yep. Oh, there we go. I am an IT nightmare, so I watch what I push.
You're like, give me a snowplow any day.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. So we're here before you today to give you, I haven't been in front of this body before talking about our snowplow operations. We usually take the snowplow map, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, every couple of years to the RTC for their approval. But thought I'd give you a little rundown on our operations, let you guys ask some questions. Usually questions come up here and there, and I know you guys get hammered as well as we do from the public on various questions, so I'll give you the opportunity to ask those. So just a little bit about what we have. So our resources, we got 9 5-yard dump trucks. Those are our smaller dump trucks. We got 2 5 yards with wings, and I'll get into these in the next slide, but this is just kind of a list. With our pre-wet system, we got 3 10 yards, our newer dump trucks with a pre-wet system. We got 2 1-ton trucks, which are basically like a large pickup truck with plows. We use those in our small parking lot areas, things like that. We got a 1 1-ton with a poly blade, which we use in like the turnouts and whatnot along Carson Street just to keep from marring up the concrete. A motor grader that we chain up usually goes up to Lakeview in our bigger events. And right now we got 1 brine truck. I'll get into how that works and why here in a little bit. We've ordered a second slide in for another brine truck because it's been so effective, but with the way things have gone, we've been waiting for quite a while for that to show up. But as soon as it does, we'll have 2 brine trucks on the road. So this is, let's see if I can get the fancy. This is our standard, does it show up for you guys? Oh, it does, look at that, beautiful. Standard setup for a snowplow. So in the upper right, this is, during the summer, this is how it sits. It's all in pieces, and then we use our dump trucks that we use during the course of the year as our plows. You got your salt bin, your sand salt bin, these white tanks on the side, they are 100-gallon tanks, and they hold a brine solution for our pre-wet system. I'll get into why that is there in a minute. And then this is obviously the plow that goes on the front. So down here in the bottom middle is a setup truck, plows on the front. Some of them, where I said we have wings, and we're starting to order more with wings as we replace these vehicles. Gives us extra width, especially with Carson, College, Williams, some of our bigger roads. We don't have 3 and 4 trucks. We can run down those at a time, so we need to do more with less. So we're starting to order more of them with wings. The controls for these devices, I'll jump on that real quick. So this one right here that I'm circling around is the old system. These trucks are about 10 years old, well, 10 years plus now. It is very mechanical. The joystick pops up, pops down. There's some dials here in the front. And then there's a little box here that gives you a readout of how much material you're putting down. Not a whole lot of, it's very mechanical. The one next to it is what we get these days. The joystick has several buttons. Everything's at your fingertips, controlling your wing, controlling your plow, your sander. Everything's right at your hand. And then this cool, as opposed to the little display we have on the other one, it's got a full-on, it gives you more information than you would ever want to know. But it tells you how much material you're putting down, your various rates, you can dial those in. We drop different amounts of material in different areas depending on the weather and just traffic patterns. So with that, our front plow, one of the things we get questions on all the time is, hey, my street's full of ice, I need you guys to come scrape the ice off. Our plows aren't set up for that. These are strictly gravity plows. So they're held with a chain here. Once it gets lowered down, it's just the weight of the plow. But on the back, in order to keep that plow from digging into the asphalt and actually scarring things up, there's two pads. There's one here and one on the other side that are adjusted to be the same elevation as the bottom of that plow that it rides on. We get several calls saying, hey, your plow's throwing sparks down the road when it's going. Yeah, because they're set just right. And as the road varies, it's going to throw sparks. It does that.
And right above that, you have a pretty good picture of that shoe that it rides on.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
picture from
Yep,
behind the plow.
right here, yeah. And it's one of those things that every time we go out, the guys lower those, check them to make sure it's not, you know, it needs to be adjusted, because as this bottom piece of the blade is a cutting edge. And so it's sacrificial. Over time, it gets ground off, so you're always adjusting those as you go. So then looking at the back of your sander, this is just looking in the cavity. You got a drag chain, brings the material back. Right here above is a side view. As it drops in here, down here, it's kind of hard. There's too much stuff to get a good picture of it, but there's a spinning plate, and you guys have probably seen, if you pulled up behind the sander before, it spins, and it's what's casting the sand out, so we're just not dropping it in a glob. And that's what they control inside, is, you know, how fast that spins, how much material drops onto that. And in the pre-wet system I was talking about with the brine, right in here it drops because you don't want dry material going out, because the wind's gonna blow it around. It's just not gonna really be effective. You want it to be, you don't want it to be soaking wet, but you want it to have some moisture to it where it'll drop where you want it to and stick to the surface. So that's the basics of our plows. So weather tracking and brine operations. So we're on, like right now, didn't work all that well Saturday because we got blindsided, but usually we see weather coming. We're on updates with the weather service on a daily basis. With big storms coming in, they'll do a weekly briefing to where there's 100+ of us on a conference call, and they're giving us specifics of what's going to happen or what they think will happen. And then we use our traffic cameras quite a bit, to where we don't have somebody just out roaming around, you know, aimlessly driving around. We actually use those quite a bit to get up in the middle of the night, kind of see what's going on and get kind of a feel for what we need to do, especially in the Lakeview area. The Lakeview seems to get hit hard quicker and more impacted than anywhere else. So we've got eyes on those. So then our brine operation. So you want to brine when it's dry. You don't want to brine when it's going to rain, because it'll just wash it off. It's not that effective. So when we know snow's coming within 24 to 48 hours prior, we'll go out and start brining. You see NDOT has done it. They were doing it before we were doing it. And we said, hey, we need to try this out, and it's really effective. We use a 23% salt solution. We actually get it from NDOT out of their yard. They're off of right by the National Guard Armory. The two pictures you see are in Lakeview. This is the first year we tried this out, and we said, well, let's see how this works. So we actually brined up to, this is going up Coombs Canyon. This is the intersection of Lakeview. We actually brined up to that location. And then knew the storm was coming in, went back out, obviously took some pictures, and it's pretty evident why we do it and how effective it is. We even, in the last storm, not Saturday, but the one we had during the week, we actually saw we were getting a lot of ice in the middle of the night, starting to creep up on us a little faster than what we usually anticipate. We brought the brine truck out and hit Carson Street. It actually did a pretty good job of knocking down that ice and giving us some more time to effectively deal with that. So when it comes to sanding, our sand salt mixture, it's a sand salt mixture. It's 3 parts sand, 1 part salt. Our salt comes out of Fallon. Our sand is really Nevada dirt. It's DG, decomposed granite. We get it out of the Oasis pit up behind the park and ride as you go up 50, as you go up Spooner there. Typically, they say you drop about 150 pounds of salt per lane mile. That's kind of a generalization. It just depends on what's going on. We've actually been going to go out and actually see if we can narrow that down and see what we're actually doing, but it really depends on the event. Our concrete impact, you guys have seen all our concrete melts with salt. It's a brutal thing. something that happened that actually it protected us. Q&D here a few years back, Q&D did the Kings Beach project. And their first winter, all the surface of the concrete was destroyed because of salt. That happened to be the winter before we started the Carson Street, the downtown project. So working with Q&D, they had already figured out a salt inhibitor. And so we actually added that to everything downtown prior to opening, and also let all the businesses know not to cast salt out for the first year. As you can see, that's held up quite well. And so we actually changed all our specs on private and public jobs to actually require salt inhibitors from here on out. We did it on the South Carson project. We've done it on even our little, we go out and replace a panel of sidewalk and whatnot, we put inhibitor on there. And it's been working great. So that's something we'll definitely continue. Landscaping impacts, there's always a concern about that. We had some concerns up in Lakeview that things were being killed off because of the salt. I mean, it's always, you always blame who you can see driving by. So we actually had a company come out, do analysis of the soils for healthy trees, trees that were stressed, trees that were dead, and found that the chlorine's not an issue. Chlorine's real small concentrations, but the sodium's all over the place. I mean, it's from the healthy trees got a ton of sodium, some of the dead trees got a ton of sodium, it's all over. Looking at it, they came to the conclusion that it wasn't the salt that's really creating those issues, it's more human impact, you know, covering the roots over with asphalt, compacting it, driving over it with compacted earth, things like that. And so we've kept our methods the same, hasn't changed any. One of the things we watched is Carson Street, when we started putting trees and stuff, we're real close to the roadway. We roll snow right up on that with our sand and whatnot, and we haven't had any impacts at all. So we think that's really the case is the salt isn't really killing our plants off. So, but we'll keep monitoring that as those complaints come forward. Oop. Come on, what are you doing? Told you I was a nightmare on this. There you go. Hey, thanks. There we go. So our snowplow map. This is usually the thing that gets the most attention and the most scrutiny and the most conversation, I guess. So our primary objective when this was put together long before my time, but is emergency access for police and fire, obviously, but also to keep the bus routes going, to keep transportation going, either Jack or the school district. If you ever want to see some long faces in my office, it's when we're plowing and the school district cancels school.
You're like, we just plowed for you.
It's a badge of honor for those guys to make sure that school does not get canceled. So yeah, so they get a little cranky when that happens. But anyway, the focus is on our main events is on our primaries, and I got a map that I'll pull up here after this, but is our primary routes, and that's to keep everything flowing, keep all our major streets moving. Our secondary roads that'll be shown in green, they're plowed once our primaries are caught up. We catch some of those in between just because it makes sense as you're going by to pick some of those up. But our non-primary, and this is where we get a majority of our calls, our non-primary, which are our residential streets and some of our secondary roads during a big event, may not be touched at all during a storm. I mean, our secondaries, we definitely go back and we clean those up before we actually shut down operations, but our residential streets, we don't get to. I mean, we live in snow country. Those have four-wheel drives, great. You need to figure out chains or work on changing your activities when these events happen. Our larger storms will run 2 shifts, 10 to 12 workers. Our streets division only has 21 folks. So kind of do the math there. When you're running 2 12-hour shifts, it gets a little tight when you got people off, people out of town. So we pull from other public works divisions. We pull from the water department and the sewer department, get those guys to help out, and it depends on the event. This event happened Saturday. We said, oh, we got covered. We called in 5 guys. Well, then 30 minutes later saying, no, this ain't gonna happen. We called in another 5 guys. So we ran 10 guys for about 8 hours Saturday on this. But it takes, we're definitely, if we had more folks, we can run more efficiently with 2 crews, but we do with what we have for these bigger events. So what we do on the map here, come on. So, and I'll pull up, this one's embedded in the presentation, but I'll pull up another one that we can zoom in on and answer any questions. But you can see the boxes that we have here. This isn't the one we published. This is the one that we use. They got these boxes. This is for each division. So we got town broke up into 4 divisions: A through D. And this is how we divide everybody up. Typically, we put 2 guys in each division. We also have a main group that we call it. So we got 5 divisions technically. Main group is Carson Street, William, and the medical parkway around the hospital. That's what they focus on. And that's how we run these groups. And we usually somebody runs command, usually myself, Justin Tierney, one of the senior guys on the crew. And we'll communicate with dispatch as things come in, during the day, as things come into the office. That point person will actually divvy up work or go check to see whether something needs to be addressed or not. But this is how it's set up. So Division A, which is our smallest group, but it also is more of our most technically challenged, because you got Timberline, you got Lakeview. Some of those steep slopes and whatnot, especially when it gets icy, you just don't want to put anybody out there on that plow. And then also when it comes to running the blade up there, our motor grader, it takes some skills to run that. Area C, Division C is our largest area. So usually like what happened on Saturday is A was cleaned up, B was pretty much cleaned up, C was still a mess because it's just so large. So we started moving resources into those areas. And we'll do that throughout the shift, and we're there until we're done. I mean, that's kind of how it works. We thought we'd be out by midnight Saturday, and the snow stopped, but we just needed to get caught up. We got buried so much. So we'll stay out as long as it takes. And if we need to bring in a second shift, we'll swap at 7 o'clock in the morning and start a second shift on it. That's just the way it works. But we're usually in concert talking with each other through the night, myself and Justin, so we can call different folks in, give them a little bit of time to get up and get to the shop. But that's, in a nutshell, how our program works. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Does any member have a question? Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that it is so helpful, and I just think, there's just so many layers to snow removal and what has to be considered in the process. And so thank you to you and your team for helping to keep the city running and allowing kids to go to school and public safety.
It seems like the bigger issue these days, a lot of our teachers live out of town, so it seems like that affects things more often than not these days. But
yeah, well, appreciate,
Yep,
and
you're
this
welcome.
was a great presentation.
I don't see any others. Is there any public comment on this item? Any?
morning, Denny.
Good morning. I want to thank you for the comprehensive information pack you set up. Thank you very much. I would have appreciated such on the golf course that I worked, where we had sprinklers failing, the plastic ones, because of the salt input and different chemicals that were on. We had them failing all the time with no one looking at the reason. So knowing that we can correct those issues on the cement, and then also protect the plants by watching the intake, and your evaluation of that was very appreciated by me, as I'm sort of a tree fan. But I just wanted to suggest maybe add to this, how many people operate that truck? Because it looked like a major deal just to keep every bit of the equipment going while you're driving, let alone all the extras. How many people operate that piece of equipment at one run? Is it one operator? Holy cow, we got to pay him more. Thank you very much.
Don't say that too loud.
Pay him more.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all so very much. It was a great presentation, very informative. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 19A, which is Lisa Schuette's opportunity for a redo. No. This is to adopt on second reading Bill number 119, ordinance on the Carson City building permits. Ms. Paulson, is there any changes from the first reading? Any comments?
No changes or comments.
Public comment or questions on this item? Ms. Schuette.
All right. I move to approve on second reading Bill number 119, ordinance number 2022-20.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. Thank you. Item 19B, discussion and possible action to adopt on second reading Bill number 120, proposed ordinance regarding various provisions relating to the Shade Tree Council. Ms. Paulson, are there any changes from the first reading?
No changes.
Comments? Is there any questions or public comments on this item? Mr. French?
I have lost my manners, excuse me. Thank you, Mayor Bagley and supervisors, Denny French, Carson City, Nevada. The shade tree matter is pretty close to my realm of personal considerations. I was sorry when I was looking to find out about the shade tree having been deactivated and ceased to exist, and that the issue of tree care and observations of planting around developments and such, I feel has been put on an already overloaded public works, and that I find through my walks and such that many trees are still being girdled. They're being staked far too long, and they're not being addressed, and those weaken that tree as it puts them forward. And so even though I think that the Public Works is an amazing bunch and they're working very hard, I feel that there still should be some other way of observing development's care of their landscaped areas that are required to be kept healthy and strong. And so I would appreciate some consideration as to developing some other viewer to maybe step in that's not necessarily Public Works or a tree council, but just a way for community observations to be sorted and responded to. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other questions, I'll accept a motion.
I move to adopt on second reading Bill number 120, ordinance 2022-21.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect the motion was unanimous. We're now going to move to agenda item 19C. Discussion and possible action regarding a request from the Carson City Deputy District Attorney Association to be recognized as an employee organization pursuant to NRS 288.160 and a determination on whether the group of employees comprised of attorneys occupying the positions of Deputy District Attorney, Senior Deputy District Attorney, and Supervising Deputy District Attorney in the criminal and juvenile divisions of the Carson City District Attorney's Office constitute an appropriate bargaining unit for negotiating pursuant to NRS 288.170. That probably pretty much says it all, but Ms. Paulson, is there some further discussion?
I think you pretty much
That
said
pretty
it
much
all.
says what it is. It's pursuant to the law. Let's just on the record, would you please state, have all provisions of the NRS been met? That's really the issue of record.
Yes.
All provisions have been met. Does anyone have any questions? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move to recognize CCDDAA as an employee organization and determine that the verified membership of attorneys as presented constitute an appropriate bargaining unit.
I second.
I have a motion and a second for approval, and again, just for the record of the initials, that is the Carson City Deputy District Attorney Association. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Is it one no or two noes? Two noes? I didn't hear him say it. So for the record, please let the record reflect. Mayor Bagwell, Supervisor Giomi, Supervisor Schutte as yes, Supervisor White, and Supervisor Jones as noes. The motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item number 20, which is our non-action items. The city manager, will you please give us your update?
For some reason, I can't get the clicker to work.
It takes a second or let it. Does it have to turn a color that you know it works?
Yeah, it's supposed to go red.
Yeah, I thought so.
Still thinking, Nancy. Oh, I'm very impatient. I've done it. Oh. Now we have the real IT professionals.
I can't hear you.
17. What was your vote? The hotel thing.
Yes.
It was a yes. It was unanimous.
While she's trying to get that going, let's go ahead. Is there anyone else on the board that has anything they would like to share? Might as well. Is there anybody? Supervisor Shooty.
I just want to give a shout out to the Parks and Rec Department, specifically Greg Bergren. He was a big part of helping put together the Trails, Transportation, and Tourism Summit last week. It was incredible and really, just very thought-provoking on how each, how transportation and trails and access to trails really help support tourism, but also help support a sense of cohesiveness within our community. Mindful design increases safety, reduces speed, increases business opportunities, increases quality of life. Transportation isn't always about vehicles. It's also about walking, riding, motorized wheelchairs. And this really was a wonderful overview of how everything can work together to benefit communities, both, as I said, quality of life, financially, all the above. So great job to everyone who helped put that on. It was a really great summit.
Great. I'd like to just remind everyone, December 2nd at 5:30 at the Capitol, we will have our Silver and Snowflakes, our Christmas tree lighting, and so that should be a good time for everyone. And then on December 5th at 11 a.m. at our senior center, we will have Move with the Mayor line dancing. We have a great teacher that is very patient. So go ahead and give that a try. And I want to thank all those that came out and did Move with the Mayor at the MAC. We walked the track and did our mile. Very proud of us. I had a little help from some young kids. It was so much fun to do that. So just like to, and then I think, December 9th at Silver Saddle Ranch will be that wonderful event, home for the holidays or whatever there at Silver Saddle Ranch, Homestead. Come out and just, the season is starting and I hope all the families will enjoy Carson City. We'll just be having a good time, good family time. Supervisor White.
Thank you. Just a community announcement. So everybody is aware, the Parks Department is currently surveying the community in regards to a new master plan for Mills Park. Several pretty good ideas. Within those proposed plans, I would encourage the skateboard and bicycle folks to really engage so that they can get an improved skate park. I think proof of concept has been successful. I have to tell you, when that skate park was built, I was a skeptic. I absolutely did not see the future in that particular kind of activity, and in fact, I used to make jokes about it. going out of town at 4 o'clock in the morning, I would drive by and whoever was with me, I'd say, see, I told you them kids would never use that thing. I couldn't have been more wrong. So I just want to encourage the skateboards, the bicycles, those folks, engage with the Parks Department and get a new, bigger, better skate park. I think Carson City deserves that.
The youth need it. Yeah.
Well, there's some old guys that
Oh,
still
there
get on a
too?
skateboard from time to time. Not me.
Oh. I'm like, I don't want any broken bones.
My
Yeah.
my elbows could not sustain that
There
these
you go.
days.
Okay. Supervisor Shooty, you had something else to add?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
Also, December 3rd, Pictures with Santa at Benson's Feed. It's the yearly Cassie event. Whether you have critters or not, come on down for Pictures with Santa. We have definitely had, in addition to children, the focus really is critters, but it's dogs, cats. We've had burros, pigs, goats, chickens, stuffed animals. So really, oh, and a guinea pig last year, Gerald. So it's really pretty darn fun. So, and then also in this season of giving, I know a lot of folks are reaching out, different nonprofits for donations, and even donations of time are really appreciated. And so just whether it's Nevada Humane Society, other organizations for people, there's just so many ways we can all contribute. So thanks.
Okay. I think we've done it. Miss Paulson.
Thank you for stalling.
Yes.
And the mayor stole my thunder on my
Sorry.
2 upcoming events.
I love them. I cannot help it.
All right, for the super exciting event tomorrow at 8:30, there's a special Board of Supervisors meeting to canvass the vote. And like the mayor said, on December 2nd at 5:30, the Silver and Snowflake Festival of Lights in front of the state capitol. And then December 9th through 11th is the Homestead Holidays at Silver Saddle Ranch. On community development, building permits continue to come in at a steady pace. The valuation through October 31st, 2022 is $139.25 million. 99 of that is residential, 25 million is new commercial, 13 million is commercial remodel and miscellaneous, and 2 million is for public. So we're getting awfully close to that high in 2019 of 146 million. So just 7 million to go. And then on the residential permits, there's been 339 permits issued, again, through October of 2022, 113 single-family detached, 48 single-family attached, 2 duplexes, and 176 on multifamily. And then as far as Internal Finance Committee, the activity from October 19th through November 2nd, there were no requests actually for funding from the general fund contingency or any break fix items for this IFC period. And then just some upcoming agenda items. The open space annual report will be in December. I'm not sure if it's going to be the first meeting or the second meeting. The fiscal 22 audit presentation will be December 15th, as well as the Board of Health. And then the truck routes ordinance and the proposed ordinance prohibiting the scooter bike share will happen in January of 2023. And that's all I had.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else have anything in non-action items? Okay. We will have a closed door meeting immediately upon adjournment, just as a reminder. We're now on to agenda item 21, which is our final public comment. Mr. French, happy to have you. I hadn't seen you in a while. We were worried about you.
Thank you, Mayor. I was pulled away. And that was an experience. Denny French, Carson City, Nevada, Supervisors, thank you all First off, I'd like to say that it was very nice to see several of the supervisors at the presentation yesterday for the proposed Mills Parks considerations. And I want to thank the Open Space, Parks, and Recreation people for having done up such a nice job of giving people a good view of the possible options. And I'd encourage everybody to step up, take a look. If you're not wanting to add your say or considerations to the survey, at least take a look so you know what might be coming. And maybe if you have some ideas or reasons to maybe oppose all the considerations, that those things be brought up as well. I'd also like to suggest that with everything, I'd like to say that I'd like to coin the phrase hodgepodge. My considerations about zoning and considerations about Title 18 and such, as everything seems to be fluid and a little hard to get a grip on, and knowing what's going to be what, I would suggest that we just do a blanketed statement similar to 10A to suggest that you might have some issues when you move to Carson that will mess with your quality of life, whether it's going to be noise or whether it's going to be dust, and just have that as a blanket statement so that we don't have to put it there. You might have to deal with flooding issues and such because that's part of life. One of the concerns I had relating to the development of the rock crush was their timing. Not that the rock crush shouldn't be where it was, or the considerations about limitations of the planting to discourage birds. I thought that was all relevant because of the location specifics. You don't want to have a whole bunch of birds coming in times of airport activity. And so my thing is that I would really like to have a better idea of what, with other considerations, will be in the neighborhoods as far as retail and other considerations, a little firmer. Everything seems to be up for grabs. If you've got the money, you can have the presentations put out, and you can even change vote considerations. So I would really, really like everybody to pay more attention to things like that and help the supervisors come to ways to help us understand. And I think part of the issue for me is that things are in titles and they're in codes and such. And as much as I've tried to hang out and listen and learn as I go here, I still can't keep up. I can't even keep up with the initials used for things. I sometimes prefer that you just use the whole kit and caboodle. Thank you very much. And then I would be able to follow better. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any further public comment? Okay, seeing none. We're adjourned, and thank you all for a good meeting.